All right, we're back. If
Let's
you
go.
if you're listening to the podcast version of this, you have no idea what happened before this. Welcome back to an episode of the USL show. For some people, it feels like an episode of Groundhog's Day. Just go with it. If you're a podcast only person, just know that I accidentally ended the live stream while trying to close my phone out, and everything is fine. We're all fine. You're fine. John, you said you went back into the office, so it was very good to see you again.
Yes. Happy to be here. Happy to be talking soccer.
So before we get into everything, because we have a bit of a loaded show today, want to go and thank our patrons. And our latest patron, apparently the Don Garber, has become a patron of us. So thank you, Don Garber, Luke Loudon, David Horn, Josh, Dylan Reed, William Land, Cindy Lester, Ryan Smelter, Matt Catpeel, Andrew Towsley, All of the Hedgehog, Kunal Patel, MOS, NF Reg 30, Tim Knox, Rion Lacara, Stephen Howard, Jeremy Churchman, Alberto Aguilar, Noah Telford, Michael Fuchs, Joshua Duder, John Fuller, Christopher Cohn, Frank Anthony, John Hunt, and Harry Austin. Thank you so much for supporting us. We greatly appreciate you. Okay. So there's a lot of topics to get into this week. And we got a few matches to kind of get through as well as I'm trying to plug in my charger. I have everything together today. Let's start off with the one that is the least fun to talk about, but is the leading news, which is Pittsburgh versus Hartford, where it looked like, hey, Pittsburgh got a 2-1 win, and that was that. But then there was a long, lengthy delay, and then players just started leaving the pitch. Then you see what appeared to be Danny Griffin talking to a ref and another player and saying, I did not say that, where allegedly things were said. There were allegations that were put out later by Hartford that there was racial abuse, and that also got picked up by numerous news sources around the area, including just CBS News proper has that on their website as well, that it was possible racial abuse that happened. I want to be known ahead, and we'll get into some details. Do not automatically assume that Danny Griffin is just guilty here. And I know we want to be quick to say that, but I'm going to say hand up here. We did this 3 years ago with Lawrence White. He gets a 15 or a 12-game suspension. And I came on this very show and was just like, get him out of the league. Absolutely awful, scum. Can't believe he did that. He does not deserve a place anywhere. And then he appeals the suspension where all the games were taken away. All the games were taken away. And now he's suing the league for defamation, where it appears that the league got it wrong enough that an independent arbiter said Lawrence White did nothing wrong, right? So I am begging you people that even if suspensions come out, don't judge until the appeal happens because that's when we'll really find out, I think, the truth.
And that's the impossibility of these situations, right? Very few people would have heard Danny Griffin say anything if he did, which we don't know. And if you're the league, what is provable here? Just given the lack of audio on the field, given the lack of ability to lip read what somebody is saying in the middle of a scrum, that applied in the Lawrence White situation, which is probably why we're seeing an active defamation suit to this day. That's going to apply as they investigate this situation, unless there is some sort of smoking gun eyewitness to the whole thing who's willing to come and say, yes, he said that. I don't envy whoever at the league is charged with investigating this sort of thing. It's a shame that someone like Marlon Hairston, who is an accomplished player with a long career, has to go through a situation like this where he feels like he has been racially abused. No matter what the league ends up saying, that is a terrible thing. You hate to see in 2025 that we're still getting situations like this. But yeah, it's ugly to see. it's very difficult for Hartford, who is claiming that this match has been abandoned and won't count. Pittsburgh is not going with that. The league has not confirmed anything in that regard. So much is up in the air that's going to affect the playoff race down the stretch if you're just getting to that side of things. I don't know what else to say. It's a really difficult time for everybody here.
The fact of the matter is that it has, like Soccer 9 Detroit says, no place for it in the sport regardless. The fact that Harrison thought he heard something and everybody kind of believed it. Not saying that's not an indictment on Danny Griffin. Don't get that twisted. But it means it's still prevalent enough in our society that everybody's just like, great, it's happened again. That just makes me sad. Like the fact that we have seen numerous of these walk-offs happen. One of the most famous is obviously the Landon Donovan several years ago, right? With San Diego Loyal, Phoenix Rising, Junior Fleming. But we've also seen it across many of the top 5 leagues in Europe where somebody says something or a fan says something to a player and the players walk off the pitch. It doesn't belong in our sport and just makes me sad. I don't have full faith that the league office is going to be able to make the right decision, right? They could go with the 12-game suspension, but do they have proof for that? Even if it was said, what proof do they have? If it wasn't said, well, I hate that Danny Griffin's name is being dragged like this. If it was not said at all, if they can prove without a shadow of a doubt that it wasn't said, that helps Danny Griffin out here. But we're going to be stuck in a gray area, and we don't even know if the match is abandoned or if it's going to count as 3 points, if it's going to count as a forfeit, which technically, since Hartford walked off the pitch, could be classified as a forfeit, which is a 3-0 loss. We saw that earlier with Westchester. There's a lot that could go on here, but unfortunately, we are stuck in gray area, and it's been 3-4 days since it's happened.
Yeah, and you anticipate it'll probably be another length of time before they come down, given the gravity of the situation. But I think you're so right to point out, like, the collective response to walk off, the way that Hartford really rallied around their guy. I think that's impressive of them, no matter what ends up happening here, to have that unity to stand against what they perceive to have gone down. I think that speaks to the character of the organization and what Brendan Burke has accomplished for that team. And yeah, not to repeat myself, but an impossible situation for the USL. The proof is going to be thin, if existent at all. I'm curious to see where it all goes.
So, do you have any final thoughts on this before we kind of move on?
I hate that it's a part of the game.
Yeah. Yes. It just makes me sad. It just makes me really sad. We ready to move on to some Tampa Bay stuff? Okay, so Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Rays, yes, Major League Baseball. They have a new owner. Zalewski is now the new owner of the Tampa Bay Rays. So you're listening to this and saying, okay, well, why are you talking about MLB, specifically the Rays? Mainly because I'm trying to avoid what's happening to the Reds right now because they're losing to the Pirates. How does that happen? Anyway.
Mets are choking too, I think. So
yes, they are. It's like 5-1 to the Cubs. So go Cubs, go.
Yeah,
but
buddy.
a part of the sale in the fine print, if you go in there, is also inclusion of the Tampa Bay Rowdies. The Tampa Bay Rowdies now have a new owner, and so I always mess up. Zalewski is now going to have to kind of take on the Rowdies and what happens there. That means stuff like Al Lang, possibly new stadium development. Is Al Lang going to be where the new Raiders stadium goes? Because technically he would own that or have a part of major say in that land in particular. This is about to become really interesting for not just the Tampa Bay Rays, but the Rowdies as well. And I'm not going to say their future because clearly they were bought. He bought into the Rays knowing he was buying the Rowdies. But where are they going to play? Is there a world where Al Lang becomes Rays Stadium? Possibly.
It is interesting, and I think if there's something promising about it, it's that Zalewski is from Jacksonville. He's a Florida guy. You probably don't need to worry long term about the health of the Rowdies, and especially given the way that the league has trended and this organization is really been long considered a crown jewel for a USL headquarters that is located in Tampa. But yeah, the stadium aspect of it, and especially relative to what the Sun are trying to build with their, I think, 12 to 15,000 seater,
Yeah.
that looks like it's going to be amazing.
Plus USL HQ.
Sure. It feels like, and this is based on nothing, this is me speculating, if Al Lang does end up going that route, they should all just unify and play at one site. We've seen it with a number of other Super League championship clubs that are on the same side of the coin. I know it's different ownership groups in this case, but you feel like that would be solvable. But overall, I think it's probably good that the Rays have found their solution. And in that same way, the Rowdies have somebody who's local, who's moneyed, and can support this club going forward.
Yeah, I guess where I'm kind of falling on this is that I just with the Sun, they have enough, I think, ownership crossover that like they have a couple of shared owners. I do believe they're minority owners. It's not the majority owners, but I think that that is interesting. I think that it will be enough to get seats at the table. So there's that. I think that you're probably right, John. I think getting the Rowdies and the Sun inside the same stadium, which is going to also be USL HQ, all in the same footprint, would be a massive win for both clubs and the league. And when you're thinking about selling it to the city of Tampa Bay, right, or St. Petersburg, I can't remember where they're actually building the stadium, but that area, right, whichever city you're having to deal with, having to pitch it as you get St. Petersburg is getting a stadium, or like they're getting the Rays, or Tampa Bay is getting the Rays, right? Let's build that stadium. The city is going to be more likely to say yes to Major League Baseball team than USL team if it is the Super League. But then you can also pitch it to Tampa Bay or St. Petersburg, whichever one it is. I think it's Tampa Bay, though. Hey, you're pitching both of us together. It's not just the Sun. It is the Sun and the Rowdies. We're doing this together. That's an easier sales pitch, an easier ROI, return on investment for the city. It's knowing that there's going to be two clubs going into that stadium together. I think that it may end up working out better for everybody. However, God, it would suck not having Al Lang in as a stadium anymore.
One of the most unique and premier venues across the league, historic. I think there's something special about that facility because it is, right, the converted baseball stadium. It's got a look to it that you really don't see anywhere else. At the same time, you look at D1, the 15,000 seat thing, the way that this new stadium for the Sun has been mocked up. It feels like a logical next step for the Rowdies. I wish there was a middle ground answer, but yeah, it seems like Al Lang maybe not long for this world.
Well, I mean, if we're trying to say something not long for this league, talk about the Miami FC being in the Miami. They are moving down to Homestead, which has been known for like a year now. I feel like that wasn't even like an open secret. I feel like that
Yeah.
was just open. Um, But they announced that they are building their stadium and they have renderings. And hey, these are at least actual renderings and not AI. We'll get there in a minute. But looks like a nice stadium that's being built down in Homestead, a 15,000 seat stadium. Who'd have thunk it? Where Ricardo Silva just has just so much money to spend, I guess. I don't know. Um, but Homestead is where it's being built. It looks like a nice stadium being built, good for Miami, even though it is Homestead. You can't call yourself the Miami if you're not in Miami anymore, though.
They said many times in that press release, 35 miles from downtown Miami. That's a lot of miles. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh
I
gosh,
do think that
where
this
can
is
I get in
going.
35 miles? Now I'm going to look up. What can I
Yeah,
do in 30?
right. I do think this is a big step for the club in recognition of the competitive landscape down there in Miami. Obviously, there's Messi, who's going to be inking a semi-long-term deal with Inter Miami. We've seen the support for this team. They're averaging 1,100 fans this year, which is last in the championship and would be third from last in League One. That's not great. But I think by getting out of the heart of Miami and doing what they're doing with this complex, which isn't just a stadium, it's a hotel. There is going to be a robust academy system that's coming along with it. Hopefully, that makes it more of something that's getting young people in the door, something that becomes a hub for entertainment. You can start to build this fan base and kind of get a new identity for this team. That's why I'm bullish about it. And you mentioned Ricardo Silva. This feels like it's spurred on more by the investors that they added kind of at the start of this year. We saw what happened last season when it was kind of just Silva doing his thing and the team was historically awful.
Yeah,
And heck, I mean, they're going Argentine with the ownership. Look at the roster and it's the same thing. This feels like they are building towards something in Miami, even if this season has kind of gone off the rails.
for sure. I mean, I like the idea. I like the renderings, by the way. I mean, it looks awesome. It looks like it's a part of a bigger sportsplex. Baseball
Yeah.
stadiums around there. I see other fields kind of going on, which again just signals to me that this will be easier to sell to cities, right? Hey, it's not just a soccer stadium, which by the way will probably host some kind of state tournament. You could put a soccer state final there. You can put a smaller football team, like a local college football team or a high school football team there. Like you can make the money work. But I'm also seeing other soccer pitches. I'm seeing tennis courts slash pickleball courts, some actual baseball fields going on in the background. It's a full sportsplex, which is so much easier to sell because that's just community investment at that point. So that feels a little bit more permanent as opposed to we're building this giant concrete and glass thing and it's only for us. No one else can use it.
Two things. The idea of a sports themed hotel, which is how they're branding it, sounds a little bit nightmarish. Like, I don't think I would want to be at a sports themed hotel.
So, two sides of that, I guess. I desperately want to stay at the hotel at the Rogers Center to like watch a baseball game and be like I want to do that. The other side of that, I think I remember during COVID, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp like were letting people stay the night inside of the minor league baseball locker room, which nothing sounds worse than sleeping in a minor league baseball locker room, but people were doing it. So
I'm more into that one. And second point here, I think people forget that Manu Ginobili is like a minority owner of Miami FC. Why are we not talking about that all the time?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he joined up at the beginning of the year and no one cared, but like that's the sixth man of a lifetime.
That's unbelievable. Also, it got brought up in chat with Michael Fuchs. Has Silva tried spending his money on a team?
In
Yes.
2016, yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, when he
Richie
spent $1
Ryan
million
is
to
almost,
get Richie Ryan and Quadwo Poku.
yeah, like Richie Ryan was a three-quarters of $1 million man. Yes, that Richie Ryan. I love Richie Ryan. Great player. Almost $750,000.
I don't think there is an active USL player that could interleague earn a 750,000 transfer fee 10 years later.
Goodrum pushed it,
I guess. Yeah.
but are you willing to
It's
say,
like pushing it though. Like the fact
yeah,
that they spent that on Richie Ryan in 2016 in the NASL, incredible.
yeah, I thank you, Silva. Greenville. Hey, so Greenville is building their stadium, City of Malden, which, by the way, in case you're wondering, only about 8.9 miles from downtown Greenville, in case you were wondering. But the City of Malden is going to be the home of the new Greenville Stadium, assuming it is not an AI generated stadium, which people were quick to point that out, that it was an AI rendered, which not great. But if you've ever been around this area, Bridgeway Station, it looks pretty similar to the renderings actually. Um, Bridgeway is really cool, and it's going to be very medieval, very like just it's going to be very interesting, very European. It gives me, and I can't remember the name of the club, but it's like a second or third tier team in Italy that plays in like a castle.
I don't know about that, but if Greenville gets half of as much of a vibe as that, they've done a good job. And by all accounts, looking at the mock-ups today, it really feels like they've been thoughtful with this project. I was kind of impressed given how ornate this looked that they estimate it's only going to come in about 80 to $100 million. About 3/4 of that is going to be private money. That shows a real commitment to the broader Triumph and Liberty organization that I think you love to see if you're the USL, if you're a fan of soccer in this part of the country. Feels like it's really onward and upwards for this program. And we can talk about the AI thing, like that is just stepping on a rake for no good reason, especially in the wake of what we just saw with, what was it, Eugene, I think, not to slander an expansion team. Like, just have an artist do a thing, please. It's really not that hard. We did it for decades and no one was bothered by it. I don't know. But yeah, everything else about this, very cool for Greenville.
And it feels just like money. I I feel like that's all that comes down to. I'm really struggling to find the name of the team, by the way, but I know for sure there is a club that plays either like in a ravine or a quarry or a castle. I know it's a thing. Maybe it's in Spain. I don't know. Someone find it for me.
I
But
like this.
like it is, I'm very excited to see what this looks like. And, there was a little bit of talk of, well, Greenville's a championship, which I'm sure is going to be out there. That's going to happen at some point. But, this also opens up the door for a Greenville Super League team, right? Like they have the Liberty who are producing insane talent. You don't build a stadium like this without the idea of floating the Super League out there as well. So the Liberty could be on the block of one of those teams that you should be looking forward to joining the Super League probably within the next year or two.
Yeah, which is fantastic to see. It adds that strength in the Southeastern corridor. Excited to see them go up against teams like the Ascent. That feels like a no-brainer.
Well, kind of speaking of, okay, so we got some good luck saying that one.
Mm-mm. FC Cavarelli Derugi.
Okay, that wasn't so bad.
I
Apparently,
tried my best. Yeah.
Yeah, it plays in a castle in Georgia. That's cool. That's so sick. We need more castles. Why did we not, out of all the things we did not take from Europe, why were castles not one of the things that made its way over?
Yeah, founding fathers missed on that one.
Let's get to some Super League really fast. where we had some interesting results. DC Power get a 2-2 draw versus Brooklyn FC, where they go up 2-0, but then Brooklyn FC, hey, they show some resiliency, 2 goals in the second half, and it is 2-2. I'm still kind of believing in what DC Power is doing. I saw what they did at the end of last year after they were eliminated and they finally just started playing really free and expressive football. And then they decided at the beginning of this year, what if we just kept doing that? Meanwhile, defensively, they seem to have lost a little bit of that defensive solidity that they had last year. But Brooklyn, they showed some fight, something we haven't seen from them since December of last year.
Yeah, DC sneaky been a weird team. If you just look at the expected numbers, their defense has been kind of atrocious. But you watch them in this game, right? It's that 5-2-3, really good about the pressure up the edges, knowing that Brooklyn wants to drive through those wing backs. They looked like they could have been up 3 or 4 goals after the first half. I think the thing for me, and you mentioned the freedom that they're playing with, Loza Ibarra has taken a leap this season in a major way. I think she opens the scoring in this one, but she gets 45 touches as one of their strikers. That's been a constant for DC Power under Omen Namazi so far. And credit to Brooklyn here, like smart halftime changes, getting Cook into the game. Felt like they had a lot more presence in the second half. And DC kind of went into prevent defense, sat back a little bit too much, but still impressed by the response from Brooklyn here. Hopefully can be a momentum getter for them.
Yeah, and really for me, what I look at with this Brooklyn team is that it's obviously a lot of different players than we saw last year. There are not many returners in this lineup. And for that could either be really good or really bad. It obviously ended bad last year. So you say, of course, we want to clean house, but it also started off historically good. You can believe in what they had. I think that, like you said, a little bit of fight shown at the end, and you're like, man, okay, this Brooklyn team has something about them. Like these women really have it. If I'm DC Power, I think I'm more upset with the missed chances in the first half. Johnny mentioned like 3, 4, 5 goals that could have been had. It could have been well over before halftime. I think I'd be more upset about the missed goals than the given up goals because in the end, Brooklyn just played well in the second half. Yeah. So that'd be, if I was DC, where I'd be more upset.
Yeah, and I think my worry for Brooklyn is that not many chances in the run of play, like a lot of reliance on set pieces. And some of that comes with the fact that you pointed out, new coach, tons of new players. They really haven't found chemistry, where even though DC's got a new manager, it's the same system. It's a lot of returning players. They've added in key places, certainly, but the continuity is clearly helping them so far.
Anything else on this one?
No.
All right. Well, how about 2 teams that last year were dominant, but this year, one of them is seemingly having a championship hangover. The other one seems to find themselves sitting near the top, at the top once again with the Dallas Trinity. Tampa Bay Sun get a 1-1 draw versus Trinity. The Trinity get an early goal through Ali Thornton, who'd have thunk it. But Giamona gets the equalizer in the 68th. We need to just kind of figure out what's going on with the Sun because Dallas look like your early favorites. Yes, like look at the table, but also like they are really good. But the Sun, I don't know what to do with them right now.
It's an interesting situation right now. And some of it is just down to integrating players who started the year injured or what have you. Like this was Natasha Flint's first start of the 2025-2026 season. She is so important to everything they do in terms of the physicality, the way she brings teammates into the game. She's that anchor of a number 9 that lets players like Giamona or Nasello kind of flow around her. At the same time, the offense just feels stagnant right now. And some of that is Dallas being absolutely suffocating. Like, take nothing away
Yes.
from the fact that they are the juggernaut in the league so far, for my money. But yeah, I think you're right to start being worried about the Sun. I don't know if I'm seeing enough of the progressivity out of the midfield. The fullbacks aren't replicating what we got last year. I'm sure Denise Schulte Brown is going to find an answer at some point, but it's not confidence inspiring in terms of the title defense from what we've seen in the first 5 weeks of the year.
I think it was the Ascent match, maybe. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, where Tampa Bay started really slow. In the second half, they remembered, oh, yeah, we press the ever living crap out of teams, and that's just what we do. And they just keep going away from it. Every time they commit to pressing, every time they commit to cutting off passing lanes and just accept, hey, maybe we'll get beat over the top. Like, we'll just live with being beaten over the top. We'd rather shut down your short passes out from the back. They have success, but it almost feels like they fear the long ball over the top and being counterattacked more than they care about playing their game. And I don't really know why that is. They won a championship off of it.
And there were moments in the first 5 minutes of this match where you saw that pressure, right? Like, the wingers were pushing upfield. They really wanted to kind of get this 4-on-3 edge against Dallas and build. And then Dallas plays over the top into Hinson. They get that goal from Thornton in the 6th minute. And it's like the Sun didn't trust the process and they decided we don't want to be as aggressive in the press. I don't know why they aren't more confident in the system. Like, we know it works. The spine of this team is mostly back. I think the answer is right in front of them. Like, just get back to basics and trust that what you have is going to be enough.
So on the other side of this, you have the Trinity side. I mean, you mentioned they are just absolutely suffocating in the midfield. It just feels like they have a person in every single inch of the field. Every time that anybody has tried to go down the center of the park, good luck. I mean, you're having to take on a Balata, a Bryan, a Brooks. If you make it to the back line, Hannah Davison has proven to be one of the best defenders that this league has to offer. You're even seeing an Allie Thornton who is not afraid to drop back into the midfield and get a little bit dirty. This is just a suffocating team all the way down the spine, and that's even before you try to go out wide. Guidry and Henson are two of the better fullbacks you have in this league. There's just not much you can do against this team.
And I love the complexity of the system because they're going to defend in basically a 4-4-2, and Hinson is happy to be the left back, but it's a back 3 in possession, and Hinson is tearing upfield. She gets the pass before the assist in this game, and you let that happen because you trust Davison. I thought Maya McCutcheon at the left side of the back line was unreal. No player that I've seen has shut down Sydney Nasello in that same way as McCutcheon did. Every player knows their role. They understand what they need to be doing. It's a lot of what we saw from Dallas at their best last season, but it just feels refined and sharper, and there's a better sense of understanding across the pitch.
Any final thoughts on this one?
All good.
All right, well, let's go ahead and go out to League One, where we have Union Omaha taking on Spokane, a little almost kind of top of the table clash. It feels like it's going to be that way soon with the way that Union Omaha keeps a winning. But they only get a draw on this one. Spokane strikes early. They get 2 goals from Nico Brett and Siobhan John Brown, which is it's just an unbelievable pairing that you have up top if you're Spokane. But Union Omaha gets right back. Ors gets a goal, and then not long after gets the brace. Really cool to see if some fight out Union Omaha. But, I mean, this was really a star-studded lineup, And the hero is probably someone that much of the wider audience who are mostly USL championship brain and someone like Oars who probably does, they don't know.
I mean, that's kind of the thing with this Omaha team, right? You look at Pino and you look at Pato, they've done a lot for this club, certainly. Some of it is just the gravity. They're there, they're occupying defenders, and it gives Sergio Ors Navarro the chance to do his thing. Ryan Betcher has been unreal, dropping between lines, making a real contribution. I wrote about Max Schneider a couple weeks ago at this point, one of the best midfielders in the league. And he's somebody who Indy 11 had on the roster and just didn't give a chance. He should be back in the championship next year. What he does to progress the ball, make stops against opposing counters, circulate in the final third, everything you want out of midfielder, he does it. And it really is a credit to Vincenzo Candela for saying, we're going with this back four system. We're going to bring in a couple players. It's not overly complicated. They've got a real clear sense of how they want to line up, how they align their midfield, and they just trust the talent. And to do what they did against Spokane, breaking down one of the best defenses in the league, can't overstate that. They had 26 shots and 3.6 XG. That is wild to see.
12 corners to 0 corners.
And granted, some of this is the effect of Spokane scores a goal in the second minute and is just going to absorb pressure. But Spokane scores a lot of early goals, and teams don't do that to them.
12 corners to 0 corners. That's unbelievable. And it's not, we just mentioned Spokane scored 2 goals, right? You expect the team with 0 corners to not even get into the final third, let alone score twice.
Crazy. Omaha, I mean, we can get into the discussion of the teams at the bottom of the playoff fields in a minute, but Omaha and Tormenta look like they are in unbelievable form right now.
Yes. We'll talk about that playoff race because I think I'm ready to say some teams are like just dead.
It's time. It's time.
Yeah. One thing I do want to just kind of mention, and you mentioned the back line for Spokane, where I don't know why I'm having to say this, but Spokane's a really good team. Just a reminder, I feel like they have almost flown under the radar because they had such an insane offseason. And then Chattanooga says, we don't care, right? And so we've just been talking about Chattanooga. We talked about, FC Naples is so good, and look how hot they came out. Portland Hearts of Pine, we went there, and they're fun. Wow, Omaha's back. McKeever knows how to attack. Oh, my gosh, look at all these fun teams. And quietly, Spokane has just been there the entire time. I just want to read their lineup. I did it the other day, a few weeks ago with Charleston. I just want to read this to you. Up top, you have Nico Brett and Luis Hill. Oh, my God.
Come on, immediately, already, yeah.
Going across left to right, Siobhan John Brown, Nel Vinyals, Colin Fernandez, Ismailia Jum. Then you got Lucky Apara, David Garcia, Jalen Chrysler, Derek Waldeck, and then Carlos Marinaccio. What?
And yeah,
what?
I mean, I just wrote recently about David Garcia. For me, is the defender of the year in League One. The guy is unbelievable and so important to the system. I'm a huge Waldeck guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to recapitulate all the names you just said, but this team is so good. And not only is the talent there, but Lee Wiedemann, in the way that he aligns them, in the structure that they are rolling with week in and week out, is so considerate about how can I maximize these players? How can I put them into a position to win? He's really up on the tactical meta of how teams are playing in the modern game of soccer. I don't think there's a team that I appreciate watching more than this velocity side.
By the way, question from the chat, is Luis Hill related to Carlos Hill? No, this is former U.S. men's national team, Luis Hill. which is still just also crazy.
That
Just
slips
wow.
by me.
For the two caps kind of live rent free for me. Like I remember like Juan Agudelo, hey, he scored that one time against Argentina.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I always remember Luis Hill played twice for the U.S. I don't know. That one just kind of sticks with me. By the way, the people that came off for them was Andre Lewis, Javier Hill, Cameron Miller, Meredith Bryce, and Masango Kale because they just aren't good enough, I guess.
Well, and you watched Akale at the end of last season, and you thought he was going to be like borderline all league this year, and the guy
Yeah,
doesn't even start. It's crazy.
it's insane. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. We talk about the bottom of the table and who's in, who's out. Is it time to say that AV Alta's dead?
Avialta has been overperforming their expected goals by like historical margins all season long. At the same time, they are 1 point back of the playoffs, equal on games played with Tormenta. It is going to take tweaks for them to not be dead, but mathematically, I can't look at them and say dead quite yet.
But
They feel
losing
they feel
three,
dead. They have dead vibes, but
yes, 3-0 to Tormenta, whom, again, McKeever knows how to attack.
Tormented might just be great. I think that's the thing. Like McKeever might just have the juice.
Well, we said preseason that we believed in what this roster should be. I mean, Yana Bazzini was my dark horse golden boot winner. I had that one circled early on. You look at Gray, you look at him and Oscar Jimenez. Yes, that one. Gabby Alves, Doyle's in there. Turnbridge started off the season as league MVP. Like, oh yeah, Austin Pack is back there, one of the best goalkeepers we've seen in League One. Everything says that Tormenta should have been good, and they just weren't. And then McKeever just has the juice, I guess. But you're seeing two teams do the opposite thing. Talk about meteoric rise and just absolute anchor to the bottom fall.
Yeah, and I talked about this to our friend of the show, Luke Martin, about what is Tormenta doing differently. It feels like these guys just have a sense of freedom, and that is absolutely not true when you watch AV Alta.
No.
They are so pot committed to possession, building short from the back. They have this tempo, and it's the only tempo that they can play at, or else they just lose the plot. And there were moments where they tried to extend out of that shell, be a little bit more direct, and Tormenta ate them for lunch, killed them on the counter. And when you've got Tunbridge as this connective tissue, Bazzini is an elite mover, Reed Steffen always looking to push in behind when he can with that speed he's got. Who can stop that front line? Very few teams in League One.
So let's look at the bottom of the table. Let's talk about who's dead. Westchester's been dead. They got to win.
You hate to see it, but
They
yes.
got to win this weekend, but they've been dead. Richmond probably dead.
Richmond is dead.
They put 2 goals on Portland. I thought there's a chance. Then Portland put 5 on their head because Richmond refuses to defend. Ford Madison, a little too late to have a resurgence, but I feel like they're dead.
I think it was a huge deal that they lost to Greenville over the weekend. That feels like the death knell.
Texoma should be dead. Weirdly stays alive, but probably dead.
They also just might be moving to Collin County, so everything about Texoma weird, but yes, dead.
Yeah, they did just send an email that's like, we're going to Collin County, and then we just had to live with that. USL to Collin County.
It's real tough.
Greenville
alive.
They're alive for you.
Only just 5 games to play, within shouting distance of 7th place. Gonna need to keep up the form we saw, but alive.
And then that leaves Avialta, whom you have said mathematically alive, but vibes are dead.
Vibes are dead.
Okay. What about Charlotte? Charlotte's a weird one for me, where they get a win this weekend, but I believe in nothing.
They are in the fortunate position of having racked up a whole lot of points earlier in the season, and that is going to carry them into the playoffs. And I do think that there were some good things in this Richmond game. Whenever you have a match where Bashir Ndiaye is doing his thing and being expressive and kind of just bowling over everybody in the midfield, that feels like the best version of Charlotte. And you pair that with Cheney doing Cheney things. Now, the flip side is they did it against a Richmond team that changed formations again. I don't know how meaningful that is at this point in the year. But yeah, they are safe just because they did the hard work in the spring and over the summer.
Well, let's go ahead and get to Sean's question just really fast before we go to the championship. Will the Hearts of Pine secure a home playoff spot? With win over FC Naples this past Sunday, Hearts have control over FC Naples on the fourth spot, 2 points. I said last week, I think it was last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, that I was the only one that said I thought Portland had a real deal shot for home playoffs. And everybody else said that it's a lot of points to make up. But you also have to remember that Portland has like 7 games in hand or something ridiculous still. I think it is just 3, but still 9 points that they have available to them. Every single match except for 1 at this point is going to be at home. Yeah. They are going to have home field advantage until the very end of this season, essentially. Do you think they break into that top 4?
Yes, and I think it is in place of Naples. And that's nothing against Naples, who has really been consistent all year long. But man, there's no offense more explosive than Portland's right now. And it feels like they can just outshoot anybody on their day. They're at Fort Fitzy. They've got 2 games in hands on Naples at the moment. Feels likely for me.
Wonderful. All right. You want to go over to the championship?
Let's get it.
All right. So for the championship, we are going to go to Phoenix versus Loudoun, where it was a 2-2 draw, where we had early goals for Loudoun. It is 2-0 to end the first half. You have 45 plus 9. That's always fun to see. And then you get an own goal by Loudoun. Learman comes back and he puts it into his own net. And then you have a 90-minute plus 11th minute equalizer for Phoenix. I gotta just wonder how much of this does Loudoun just say seriously, like we blew a 2-0 lead this late into the game, or is it, man, it's 110 degrees in Phoenix and Phoenix just survived it?
There were also, between the two halves, 21 minutes of added time. Like, what are we doing? And I will say, as somebody who was trying to type up recaps about this, when there's a goal at 12:15 Eastern time, I kind of want to explode. Phoenix started so poorly and it seemingly they had no conception of how Loudoun wanted to build and break them down. There was so much vulnerability in the wide areas. Rising push their wingers high, let Keegan Tingy and Kwame Awuah receive at will, essentially. And you think about that first goal Loudoun scores, working up the right side, you advance through Ben Mines. It's too easy to go at this Rising back line. To Phoenix's credit, they really fixed that wing issue about halfway through the first half. They concede another dumb goal because that's just what Rising does this year. But you pair the tactical change with Charlie Dennis coming into this game. I think the takeaway, if you are Rising, is we understand the issue. We know we have a player in Dennis that, for my money, probably has to be starting, and I don't know why that isn't the case already. On Loudoun's front, this feels like a trend in a way. These games where they are making the boneheaded mistakes, losing points when they should be racking up wins. I know Garrison Tubbs starts this one and looks halfway decent. I'm waiting for Akinyoti to get involved a little bit more regularly from the jump in the starting lineup. I hope that they can be the solution, and I hope that Abakora finally getting back to health is the gravitational presence they need in the final third to put games away. But I don't know, something in the back of my head is a little bit concerned about the way that things are going for them.
you mentioned Charlie Dennis, which I agree with you needs to start, but where would you put him? Because JP Sears is one of the better defensive mids that you have in the game. And then you also look at a Noble Okello, who technically feels
Yeah,
lacking,
yeah.
but you don't get 6'6" defensive midfielders that often. That is just size and physicality that you don't want to give up if you are a Phoenix Rising side who's already lacking size and physicality.
That's very true. I look at Okello and I look at maybe what Kev Lambert is doing for Lou City. And Danny Cruz uses him as a central target man when they're started trying to build long. He lets him make those late runs into the box to be an aerial threat. And of course, we know Lambert can do the defensive job when they're in low block. Okello, whether it is a coaching thing, whether it's his own instincts, never has that level of aggression. So for me, it's an easy answer. Take Okello out, put Dennis in, because Phoenix, even if they need the physicality, that isn't their DNA at the moment. They've also, if we're thinking about other places Dennis could play, they've liked to use him as this kind of tucked in right winger, sort of a pseudo number 10. Why not? Like Isan Sako has been awesome, and I would probably just move him to striker. Remy Cabral isn't scoring goals regularly enough. I mean, stop me if you've heard that before. Sako at the number 9 spot, Dennis on the right feels like something. So yeah, yeah, and we get the comment there as well. Yeah, Dennis on the wing has been the thing. Granted, not my favorite use of Charlie Dennis, but he is clearly capable of making a difference from that spot.
Kind of speaking of Noble Okello, just really fast. And I can't remember his name. He plays for Rhode Island. He's also like 6'6", but it's a guy in the back line. I can't remember his name, but he
Mabika?
just has who is it?
Mabika? I'm in
Yes.
Mabika? Yeah, okay.
Yes. He's he screams to me to be the better version of Noble Okello in terms of like I think he could be good as a defensive midfielder, like as a massive human defensive midfielder that is just a big body willing to like just kill somebody.
I think I didn't realize Mabika was 6'6". That's crazy. That's like tall, tall. I
Yeah.
as a short man, I sometimes think about the fact that like that's a lot.
Yeah, super tall guy. But like that was one where I've been having that thought of like he feels like a better version of Noble Okello to me, but Connor Smith just doesn't want to use him as a midfielder, which is fair.
Which
But
is fair. Which is he's best in that back line, but yes, also when you have a tank.
yeah. So do you have anything else on this match?
I want both of these teams to be better because they're fun. That's what I'll say.
When we're looking at the playoff race, which we can actually start talking about that. I know we've been kind of talking about the playoffs for a long time now, but like now that we can officially start dreaming about it because people are clinching, people are like dying. I don't think anybody's officially eliminated yet,
No, but
but
Miami, get ready, buddies.
yeah. I'm looking at a Loudon, I'm looking at a Phoenix, and they're probably going to be in the playoffs more than likely, almost positively. Do we see either team with the ability to make it? I'm just going to say to a conference final.
I mean, in Loudon's case, that absolutely means that you have to beat one of Charleston or Louisville. That's a tall task no matter what. Like, am I confident they could do so? More so against Charleston than Lou City, perhaps. Like, there is a track record of being able to get some goals against that battery team. Phoenix feels like the more likely option because the West is just havoc. It's significantly harder for Phoenix if they're the 7 or 8 seed and they have to play Tulsa or Sacramento in round 1. But if they're in the middle there, anything can happen. We know Rising can be explosive. If they can just settle and be okay defensively, I start to feel a lot better about their case.
You ready to move on from this one? All right. A team that I said died on Wednesday on a mimosa match officially is dead. But to your team, who is still alive just by a thread, and that is Indy taking down Birmingham Legion 2-1. It's it was every Birmingham match that I've ever seen. They get a goal, they concede a goal, and then they concede within 10 minutes, and the game is over. For Indy, I I don't really know what to do with Indy because the first goal is one of the prettiest passing sequences I've seen in the league this year. Why don't they literally just do that all the time? Why did they just insist on we only counterattack and go over the top and be weird defensively? Why? Just why?
And I think that is the thing that suddenly made me feel alive watching Indy 11 for the first time all year, right? The first half of this game was not good. There was some of the classic, like Jack Blake is drifting over to the right. We're letting Benefemu do Ofemu things. And then it's just a lot of crosses, and you hope Romario Williams can do something. Second half, you change shapes. It is a 4-3-3. We mercifully stop the Aiden Quinn at wingback thing and get him into the midfield. And the goal that Indy scores, they aren't getting away from the Sean McCauley identity. It's a long ball, it's a quick restart. But Quinn, because he's a midfielder again, is in position to play this beautiful set of 1-2s, get into the box and make that thing happen. I wish that Indy had done that 3 months ago. And I hope that's what they roll with as the format, because they've got the talent to boss teams up the middle. You look at, I hate the look at the names on the team sheet argument, but Indy legit has multiple players that would be like a first ballot USL Hall of Famer if
Oh,
that
for
were to
sure.
be a thing. Trust that. Use that as your setup. Say, hey, listen, we think we are better than most of the midfields in the East. They did it in the second half and it paid dividends.
Yeah, and it all comes down to midfield battle. I mean, you see someone like a Jack Blake. Jack Blake was all over this match,
Yeah.
all over this match. I mean, Aiden Quinn, when we talk about guys who are USL royalty, right? I mean, we just mentioned Richie Ryan on the record-breaking FC Cincinnati team. Like you back in was that 18? I think that was 18.
I think so.
Um, Aiden Quinn usurped Richie Ryan, almost $750,000 man. It was Aiden Quinn getting in over him. Aiden Quinn is a real deal superstar of this league, and you saw it. You also see guys who are in the back line who we know. I still think of them as young guys with Bethlehem Steel, but you mentioned a Benefemu, where he was just a kid with Bethlehem Steel, but he's like growing up and he's awesome on the ball. There was one moment in the 80th minute, maybe, I can't remember exactly when, where Benefamo just decided he was a midfielder and just dribbled the ball into the Legion penalty area because why not? He has the ability to do that. And it finally felt like they were letting him be more of that ball playing center back, which when he does that, he's one of the best in the league.
Mm.
There's so much talent in this indie team that the underperformance just does not make sense to me. Maybe the move is just get Aiden Quinn out of playing wingback.
And they have wingbacks. Bruno Randone has been on the left at moments. Finn McRobb has actually been good when he's been allowed to play. Logan Neidlinger has the flexibility. Like, just put a normal fullback at fullback and let that happen. Quick note, Richie Ryan and Jack Blake passed like ships in the night. Ryan left Jacksonville Armada in 2016. Blake signed for them the next year under Mark Lowry.
Wild.
Yeah.
This is the big Richie Ryan pod tonight.
Isn't it always?
Isn't Phil like Richie Ryan's biggest fan ever?
Yes, and he is still mad about the way that he was let go of in El Paso.
Rightfully so. Birmingham side, I know people probably want to hear what I have to say about it. I just watch every match from Legion this year, and you've already
You're
seen
dead
it.
inside, man. You don't need to talk about it.
I honestly, I think that I kind of died after the Tampa Bay game. This one was just like of course. Peter Lee Vassell, yes, that one has come back, scores only the second free kick goal in Legion history.
Crazy.
And it was a crazy strike too. Just did not feel like a ball that should have been put on target. Really nice finish. It was an awesome goal. Um, there are guys on that team whom I really want to see come back next year. And there's a lot of pieces that need to go away, including a lot of people that Briggs brought in. Last kind of thought on Birmingham. I think Birmingham fans are starting to see why Tommy Sohn never talked to the media, because Briggs is talking to the media and he's saying the same thing every single week. Every single week, it's the same comments. And fans are starting to get fed up of, well, you're the coach. If you're saying the same thing every week, you're not doing your job right, which I don't think it's that simple. But there's a reason why Tommy Sohn never put out quotes, because the moment you start repeating quotes, it becomes a youth thing and not a player thing. And I think fans are starting to see the downside of having a very open and honest coach.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Jay Heap stepped into a kind of GM sporting director role.
Yeah, he's always been the president of the club, but he
Okay.
moved away from the financial side of the business side and went to like a director of football. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And in terms of the guys Briggs brings in versus that, I'm always curious of how that breaks down. And I'll be interested to see what that looks like heading into next year, how much Briggs DNA you really start to feel.
Considering that much of this roster lately has been Briggs guys, I feel like you're already seeing it and it just hasn't worked
It's
personally.
also been like a lot of them have just got injured, which has not
True.
helped. Yeah.
Very true. So I think that's all I have for that, which means we do need to talk about the Bell Tower
Yeah.
partnership, where I've read this thing and I know nothing about finances. This is where I'm just going to put my hand up and say, I don't get it. It's a private equity that they're talking about the pathways. They're talking about how it's going to help with the league structure. And I don't understand the rest of it because they use a lot of financial words that I don't get.
I mean, it's basically Kusong Lee, who used to run Citadel, which is one of the biggest hedge funds out there. He is just a guy with a lot of money now, and he runs this thing called Bell Tower Partners. And they decided, hey, USL looks good. We're going to buy in. And now I'm going to be a person who is on the board of directors for the USL. I think people see the phrase private equity and get caught up because that has connotations. Like you think private equity and it's immediately this worst case scenario of they're coming in, they're firing people, they're cutting costs. That's a very limited idea of what PE means. Oftentimes it's just a private company comes in and invests and it's not publicly listed. So like essentially a rich guy said, I want to be part of the USL. Now, as the league ramps up its operations for D1, needs to hire people, build that infrastructure for pro rel, suddenly they have an invested party that thinks, okay, we're going to put up that money. We are going to get the return on an investment because the valuation of the USL is going to skyrocket in the next couple of years. I ultimately don't know if it's going to be overly impactful just because so much of the future of this league relies on the clubs and not League HQ. But being able to say, we've got this guy who invested in the Rhode Island Stadium project, by the way, like cares about the sport, evidently, to have him come in with his connections in finance and to be able to offer that expertise to teams, in addition to the bottom line side of it, I think is probably a slight positive at the worst case scenario.
I mean, there are, you kind of mentioned just like the downsides of like, okay, someone's coming in, everybody's getting fired, good for Nicholas Murray is just freelancing once again, stuff like that. But uh, assuming that that is not what's happening, we take the best case scenario, or even just the most average case scenario here, where really nothing changes. The league is getting more money. The more money that is circulating into the league, the more financially stable it is, right? And the more money you have in the piggy bank, you can afford to fix things that break. I.e., look at Northern Colorado last year. The league was
Sure.
paying off salaries that were not being paid. The league could not do that if they did not have money or at least something to dip into. This is another situation where you are dealing with someone who has financial backing. The league gets a little bit more financial backing so they can maybe break the glass just in case of emergency.
And I do want to push back on the idea of like, why would the USL let an investor buy in who's going to just slash and burn the operations in this period of growth? Like, yes, I know people are scared when they see Wall Street, but clearly it's like he wants to make money in this situation by growing the thing. Yeah, like I don't see how this can be bad.
Yeah, most people don't want to run their investments.
That's
Like
a good point.
like when I think that's where we got to just kind of get into this and just remember most people do not want to run their investments. When owners get into owning soccer clubs, right? They don't want to run their investment. We talked about earlier the Rowdies got a new owner. A part of, yes, it was because he bought the Rays and they were just a part of the line in the legal documents that said they had to be bought. But guess what? The Rays owner has a new investment. And it's not just the Rays, it's the Rowdies. It's the best for him to make sure the Rowdies are good because that is
Right.
return on investment. So just kind of remember people do want to make their money back. So, any kind of final thoughts on that? Yeah, sure. There was a quick question that I wanted to hit. When do we do the bubble over under like to make it end, which two don't? Is it next week or two? I think we've been kind of already doing this for the
We're just kind of
last.
sneaking it in. That's right.
Yeah, it's like I mean today we did the outright dead, not dead, but I feel like we've been kind of these three teams have a chance of making it. These four teams look like they could fall out of it and just kind of generally seeing where the bubble is moving.
Rhode Island in, Indy out, Tampa Bay out, everyone else dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I know that's the table right now, but that's also what I am predicting.
Let me look at this. Yeah, I'm sitting. I think might go. See, I'm really torn on Rhode Island, Indy. I could be flipped either
Yeah.
way. I think Tampa Bay is really good now under Cacciato, but I think they left it too late. I think that they're done. Birmingham, Miami, they're dead. Out
I'm
of
also trying to do this without looking at schedules and remembering the table off the top of my head. So don't take this
Sure.
as gospel. Yeah.
I think when I'm looking at the West, other than Orange County, it's dead.
Everyone else is dead. With apologies to Oakland, who is doing such weird lineup things, I think they are dead.
I like what Oakland's doing. I hope they keep doing it next year because this year they're dead.
It's a real tough question of do we want Benny Feilhaber back? I will say that, but
That I mean,
because the results have not improved at all, really.
but the performances have.
I don't disagree with that.
I don't know, but you also can't fire a coach every 6 months, which Oakland Roots do like to do.
And if you invest in a guy, someone who brings the name value of Feilhaber, the developmental experience in Next Pro feels like a good idea. But hey, Oakland, we love you, but Oakland gonna Oakland.
And then really fast, Monterey FC staff changes. CEO stepped down after he realized he was going to have to give out a bunch of money for missing the playoffs.
The guy they hired seems like he has very good experience in other sports. I never know what it means when someone's like, we're getting a new team president. That role means a million different things in every different city. Having somebody who is a vet of the industry, probably good for the future of the team.
Yeah. I really have not much else to say about Monterey Bay. They kind of are
Just generally.
they kind of are who we thought they were. Campuzano could only do so much.
Are they? They're in last place, right?
I think so. It's either them or Las Vegas.
I think Vegas passed them. Shout out Devin Rensing.
What a show. Any final USL thoughts tonight?
Nah.
Okay. What about final thoughts for the night?
Okay. One battle after another. New Paul Thomas Anderson movie coming out. Seeing it with friends Thursday. Trying to see it in VistaVision, this is the first movie to be released wide in that format since I think the 1960s. It's like a special extra high def version of 35 millimeter film. The twist here is that it's only showing in VistaVision format in 3 theaters in the world, and I happen to live 2 blocks away from one of them. So there we go.
I feel like every 2 weeks you have something that just makes me say New York is wild.
It really is. This is just like a Regal. And for some reason, they have like special VistaVision screening technology. So I don't know what's up with that, but shout out to the good folks at Regal, apparently.
Awesome. Enjoy that. I don't even know what VistaVision even would look like. Like that, I can't comp.
I tend to think that people who are obsessed with like seeing movies on film, it's a little bit overblown. But like, hey, can I waste my time and money seeing a thing because it is made to say like it's in 3 places in the world? Like, of course, I'm going to waste my money on that.
Why not? Why wouldn't
Right.
you? Let's see. For me, here's a dumb thing that's going on. So our county newspaper puts out a thing every year where it's a battle of the bands and people just vote for their favorite band. What I've realized is that they don't lock the vote, so you can just refresh vote, refresh vote, refresh vote. And I'm about this close to putting it into our Discord, like our USL show Discord, and just telling them everybody just to go at it and vote for my school, because I don't know. I just feel like that's something that I should do. I don't like seeing. Last year there was a school that actually got bots to do a cookie clicker, just an auto clicker.
Wow.
And so they were like, why does this one school have over 30,000 votes? Did every single student at the University of Alabama vote for them? Possibly.
Could be.
Probably not. So I don't know. I want to stuff the ballots as much as I can. I want to go full like old school, like FC Cincinnati, everybody every single week, goal of the week, even if it was just a normal tap in, just spam the vote, spam the votes.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Every time you have a story with some local color to it, my favorite thing.
I need to find out if the second annual pumpkin rolling contest is happening this year, because I kind of want to be involved.
Please, by all means, get involved.
I need to find out. I desperately need to find out if the pumpkin rolling contest is happening.
Volunteer your time.
The USL show goes pumpkin rolling. Well, we are planning as of now still to go to one of the finals. The finals are mid-November. That is prime pumpkin rolling time. If we
That's
roll
right.
up to like, I don't know, Lynn Family Stadium with pumpkins, we're just like, we're rolling. Like,
Gotta let us in. Yeah. we are rolling. That's right.
Well, that's all I have. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you all so much. And until next time, and for the first and final time tonight, Here's Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show.
The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see everyone again next time.